So it's similar but different, and it's separated based on positive or negative like this, with how the vowels are shaped. One thing I think that is really amazing and remarkable about this idea of three is that it relates to a lot of different things in the world. One thing that comes to my mind is 산조고 or 결의. So Koreans say that we are 결의 민족, which is like we're 결의, like 민족 is ethnicity. And we also say we're 배달 민족, and we also say we're 백이 민족. And if you ask a Korean what these three are, I guarantee you, nobody will be able to tell you or explain to you what these are. I mean, the funniest thing I heard is that 배달 민족 is because of the app, 배달의 민족, because 배달 also means like delivery. And we are a people of delivery. I mean, if you go to Korea, the delivery food culture is amazing. But that's not what 배달 means. It means completely something else. But unfortunately, a lot of these meanings have been lost through the time. And 백이 민족, 백이 means white clothing. And a lot of people say, oh, because Koreans like to wear white, we like to be clean. Yeah, partly, but that's not why we say we're 백이 민족 at all. So I like to cover about 배달 and 백이 later down the road, but for today, I'm gonna cover 결의 because it links directly with the three. And the best example that I'm gonna bring to you is 삼조고, three-legged crow. In Far East Asian culture, that's been taken as a holy bird. It's also known as sun god. And if you look at Goguryeo, our ancient kingdom's tombs in Manchuria today, it has four gods first. That's the 청명, the blue dragon, and 백호, the white tiger, 주작, that's a red bird, and then 현무, which is a turtle and a snake combined. These four gods are defending the north, west, east, and south. And then in the middle of it, you have 삼조고, the three-legged crow. So three-legged crow is a central symbol of Koreans. If you look at the golden crown, which Trump got recently from Korean President Lee Jae-myung, that crown is a crown of Shilla. And if you look at the Shilla's golden crown, which is really, really famous and amazing, on there, on each branches of the tree, there are three birds sitting on it. And it's repeated representation. Three and a bird, again, is a repeating concept, not just in Goguryeo, but also in Shilla and throughout Korean culture. If you look at K-pop Demon Hunter, you have the black bird, Seoshi, and that bird doesn't have three legs, but it has three eyes, just like Samsung Galaxy phone, the cameras. But the reason why it has three eyes is not because of the Samsung Galaxy phone. Oh, and by the way, Samsung means three stars. So three is everywhere, but is it limited to Korean culture? And I'll say it's not, because the Bible story also contains number three. Bible story is an ancient horseman people story, and Israelis definitely fall under the ancient horseman people. I want to take an ancient story from Far East Asia, 견우직녀, and talk about its relationship to Jusu people, or the Jews, also known as Israelis. So the story goes like this. 견우 is a livestock raiser. That's why that's his name. U is a cow. So he raises cows. And then 직녀, and 직녀 actually means weaver, a person who weaves. So 견우 and 직녀, they were lovers. And they couldn't meet because 직녀's father is 옥황상제. 옥황상제, of course, wouldn't allow his daughter to marry a lowly, livestock raiser. So only once a year they were able to meet. On July 7th, on a bridge called 오작교. And that O is the same O as a 삼조고 O. So O is a writing of a raven or crow. But actually it doesn't really just cover just ravens. In Korean, it also covers gachi. And about gachi, I'm going to digress off of that. In Joseon Dynasty, there's a famous story that every damn Korean knows. So it's the Norbu and Hungbu story. Norbu and Hungbu are brothers. Norbu is the older brother. Hungbu is a younger brother. Norbu is kind of mischievous, he's greedy, he's rich. Hungbu, the younger brother, he's nice, he's good-hearted, but he's poor. And one day, Gachi comes to Hungbu's house and makes a house. And one of the baby Gachis fall and then breaks a leg. So Hungbu helps the bird and then repair the legs. And then the Gachis, they fly away because of the season comes. And next year, they come back and it drops pumpkin seeds. And then from the pumpkin seeds grows a bunch of pumpkins. And it, from inside comes out all these treasures and gold. And the Norbu, the older brother, heard the story and he got jealous. So he did the same thing, except he artificially created the situation by artificially breaking the leg of a baby gachi. And 1 year later, the birds come back, same thing, drops the pumpkin seeds, but this time from the pumpkins that grow comes out evil, plague, and disease. So even in this story, you can see that a bird plays a critical role in, rewarding or in punishing. So again, this idea goes all the way back to Samjogo and the ancient bird totem group. Now I would like to go back to 견우 and 직녀 and talk about their relationship to Adam and Eve. So Adam in Turkish means a man, and 견우, who is a livestock raiser, is also a man. Now that relationship might be weak, but if you look at what follows, which is Eve and 직녀, there's something more to it because 직녀 is a woman who weaves clothing. So 직녀 is a weaver, and Eve is a weaver too. If you search the Western context and materials, there's no support that Eve is a weaver. But if you look at Korean content with language analysis, no, there are a lot of evidences that Eve is a weaver. Here's a clip from YouTube of a Korean language scientist, and he talks about this idea.
그와 같이 그러나 어원적으로 지금 해석을 해봐도 아담과 아담은 농사꾼이고 이분은 회자는 여인이다 하는 것이 자명하게 드러났습니다. 이것이 뭐냐면 우리가 알타이르 아큘라, 알타이르 베가라고는 이 견우직녀 사상에서 이것을 해석해낼 수가 있습니다.
And also, even in the writing, Eve, weave, it is a very similar sound, even in English. And if you look at it in Korean, which is a phonetic writing, then you can see that the shapes are also very similar. So if you look at human history, weaving was a very important technological advancement that allowed humans to build more culture. If weaving stopped right now, it will probably cause other sectors of the society to fall. I mean, imagine no one's going to be able to buy new clothing anymore. Yeah, it's going to be chaos. So it's still a pivotal technology in our life today. And in Far East Asia, we have pinnacled it to a point where we're taking stuff out of a dead bug in order to make fine silk that, we had a thing called Silk Route. So weaver is a really critical part of the story that not a lot of people think about because, the story, you hear it, but you gotta go work, you gotta go study, you gotta take your test and move on with your life. So no one really stops and questions the obvious. That rock piece on the ground, if you lift up and check it out, there might be something more to it than you ever thought of. But we don't have time for that, right? We need to study hard so that we can go to good school, so that we can find a good job, so that we can find a good mate, and yada yada yada. So we really are stuck in a world of matrix and something we take for granted every day in our life. If you actually stop and ask questions, actually there are a lot of things that you don't understand why the way they are, but we just accept that they are and we just move on. So my crazy comparison between 견우직녀 and Adam and Eve may actually have some worth to it.